We are in Juterbog, in Germany, a small, quiet German town, typical like so many others, except this has an incredible military history. It saw famines and fires and wars, and even a visit from Martin Luther. Now, the battles of the 30 and the 7-Year War left its mark on the small town, not just due to the fighting here, but also due to the looting by foreign armies from time to time, such as after the Battle of Jena and Austerlitz. In 1824, as a way out of economic hardship, the citizens here asked for soldiers to be stationed, and in 1832, as part of the Prussian 3rd Artillery Brigade, was billeted here. In 1841, Juterbog Rail Station was opened to the Berlin-Anhalt Railway. From 1864, the artillery was stationed here in Juterbog, and it had its own firing range, and 2 barrack camps was also purchased by the Prussian military in 1870. The Juterbog Artillery School was founded here, and in 1893 the town was connected to the Royal Prussian Military Railway. During World War I, there were 2 airship hangars here as well. There was an airfield that was further expanded in 1933 and 34, and also there was a communications school, intelligence school, motorized balloon unit, for weather, and there were several assault gun units here. One of them was Assault Gun Battalion 236. Someone here has written a book about them. There was also a technical aviation school. There's a lot of military going on here besides just the firing ranges and the munitions production. However, as you just heard me say, there's a museum in town. Usually I don't go to museums, but this is run by an incredibly great bunch of people, and they have a collection of military vehicles and some armor. The armor they locked up for me. The vehicles are things you will really not see in other places. And if you are in any which way a vehicle, a tank, armor, a collector, or have a museum, you may want to pay attention, because there will be a little bit of horse trading offered at the end of this episode, trying to connect some dots and help some people out preserve some of these amazing things in this amazing place. I have here in the hangar the one he doesn't have the key for, because the owner is somewhere he shouldn't be, because he's not here, so he's somewhere he shouldn't be. They have a Hetzer with the crane for the to get the engine out. I haven't seen any of those almost anywhere. They have some nice pieces of armor, have our half-track, and a Russian BMP that we used to drive around in. Well maintained, but the German government decided they have to be locked up, and I guess someone told them I was coming, because they kept it locked up when they knew I was coming. And I love this building. This is so original, and you can smell that it's real, and it has period, and you can also tell from what's on the walls that the Russians and East Germans were here after. See, I actually didn't know that was... I had no idea what was here, because of course he keeps these things from me, as he should, because he knew I would be out here crawling through the window in the middle of the night. See, all this, you kind of forgot to mention about this. I'm still going to buy you a beer, but you did forget to mention that you had things in here. Ooh, that's nice. Oh, that is nice. Hey, but this, tell me about this. I'm dying here. What is that?
It's an Opel, built in maybe 39 or 40.
Well, I could see why he wouldn't want to get rid of this. Really, really nice. Does it run? Do you know if it runs?
It runs. All the former German vehicles you can see.
Can I open the door?
Try it.
I mean, under normal circumstances, you know me well enough that I wouldn't ask first. But
inside, they came in by their own power. They run for themselves.
What is it?
I think it run a larger distance on a street. With
and you have
license.
this wood trim. What is this? This is this bakelite? What is this?
I don't know.
The dashboard?
Bakelite could be possible. It was invited in this area. Is there no writing about?
It's very rare I can say about a piece of military vehicle that it is cute. I'm just gonna go with it's cute. Tell me about the ugly duckling.
That's the amphibian.
Go show me.
This amphibious car is built by men or by a company called Triple. And only a very small number of these triple cars are still existing. They were only built in a very small number, and they are on the collector markets extremely expensive. That's the reason this car was in a position you cannot come out directly.
Theft protection.
Hidden behind, I think...
Post-war, of course.
No, not post-war.
What?
Not post-war.
This was World War II?
Yeah, yes. But I think it was an experimental vehicle. I have never seen any picture that it was in active duty. But you can look up amphibious car Triple. I think you will find a lot of material in the internet.
I don't know what to say, because I don't, it doesn't happen that often. I see things that I don't know from that area, but when I see things that I don't know that are exceptionally cool. The Playboy Mansion did not really impress me, because, well, the food was good, but this impresses me. The Triple was named after its inventor Hans Triple, who began working on the design in 1935, intended for civilian expeditions. However, it was expensive and would only be practical if the military picked it up, which they did as we get closer to World War II. The Bugatti Works in 1939 ceased all civilian production of vehicles and did a deal with Hans Triple. Over 800 of them were made in various configurations, including one large enough to carry 16 soldiers. Instead of providing a buoyant vehicle body to a commercial suspension, Triple built a streamlined bathtub-shaped body into which the vehicle technology was then fitted. The footage you're seeing is from 1938, when a commercial drive to promote the vehicle was taken from Hamburg to Naples.
These Bose Bose trucks, you have them side by side. That's the larger version with 3 tons and 4-wheel drive, and that's the smaller version with I think 1.5 ton and only rear wheel drive. If you see an Opel Blitz, only one on a picture, you cannot see the difference, which you can see very clearly when these Bose stand side by side.
Yes, you can. That is actually a very I did not know it had rear wheel drive. I thought it would have had front wheel drive on the mountain. Yeah. So this is the big brother.
And I don't know if you have it in this yellow triangle on the cabin. That's the sign for have a trailer. Do you know this?
I did not know that.
When you drive without trailer, you turn it down, and when you drive with trailer, you turn it up.
That makes sense, but I haven't seen that in any other truck. We had a few of these. I drove one, almost ran over a camera guy one. But I've never seen the triangle in any of these I've seen in the United States. I haven't seen any of these in Denmark at all. So, but I remember. I know. I remember.
You are too fat.
It's that new car smell. And that's something else you really don't see very often. The original jack in the original position. On the running board, where I bet you no one had really seen them. So this was the... So with the jack on the smaller truck, was that the same just for the ease of building the same size jack, or was it smaller as well? For this one? That would be an interesting question, because it would probably be easier to build more of the same ones.
Which was locked. Some of our guys removed it and brought it to here. I don't know if he asked many questions, but here you can see as it looked before. I think that's the original position from where it was removed, and you see, sure. There was the original position, and that's the area of the school. We go this way around and back. That's the football area, and there you started your drone.
And see, if you're going to have a museum and you're going to do history, this is how you do it right. You rescue a piece of equipment or something, you mark down where it came from on the map so you can tell people this is where we found it. And even, well, it does happen a lot of times that people, they don't know what exactly it is they find somewhere. Find a piece of armor, they find a body, they find a dog tag. Mark down where you find these things, especially if you're out there with metal detectors. Mark down on a map what you found. Take pictures of it, document it, take it to the museum, because maybe 10 years from now in some archive, it will appear that this piece belongs to something else or someone else.
To every piece you found and you put on, collect every information which is available at this time, because what Tino said, if you have all the information to every item, and if you are lucky, you can find a little later on a connection between two items, because you have the information. And if the information is not preserved together with the item, it's a loss. The brand carrier, which is hidden because of a lot of parts, they are temporarily laying there and disturb the look of the brand carrier.
But it looks like it's in good shape.
As I know, this one was running and I think it is still in a running condition.
It does look it. Do we know where it came from?
It could be it came from Denmark. That's what I said before.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the Danish army had brand carriers.
They did take over a lot of equipment from the British after. I think they should have kept a lot of the German equipment instead. Is this what I think it is? Well, I mean, so... Huh?
I'm with you in a moment.
The boat belongs to the Luftwaffe.
Yes.
Well, that makes perfect sense.
Yes, but if you remember that the Luftwaffe had a number of water planes.
I do.
And they had harbors where the water planes were stationed. Sometimes they throw them out of the water on ground, but sometimes if they are need in a short time to ready to fly, they stayed in the water. And the Luftwaffe used this boat to throw or
Supply.
press the planes without having the airplane engines running. In German is called Buxierboot.
Oh, it's a towing boat. So this would tow the planes back to...
Yes, throw them in, push them out.
Now this could have come from Denmark too, because... No, Aalborg had a lot of water plants. That's interesting. What is that thing? Where's that thing from?
I believe that's also a Canadian.
Blue and white?
A Canadian Chevrolet. This marking is British, but I think that's not original belonging to the vehicle. It was maybe also later on painted to use it as a personal transporter, because there was a larger one. That is a 1.5 ton and the other one is a 3 ton.
I mean, I will say, it was a sturdy vehicle. I have some recollection of getting a ride in one. It is probably one of the most uncomfortable terrain vehicles I've ever been in. I mean, we've got to give it to the Russians. They built some very sturdy stuff. But comfort would not necessarily...
It's a post-war truck.
I know.
Which was changed.
This was East German service.
No.
Is that the East German Eagle? The Adler? What is that? What the hell is that?
That's original. There was what is it? A cross.
Ein Hakenkreuz?
What is Hakenkreuz? Wie heißt das? Swastika.
But if this is post-war, a movie's again.
Yes.
Now,
the Russian tow system was, for example, on the GAS 69. That's also an absolutely ugly car.
What is it?
That is made in Czechoslovakia.
Oh.
Is a Praga and is original this automatic anti-aircraft cannon. Not liked was one of our members. He changed T-34 tank, which was pretty complete, to this ugly vehicle. Anti-tank gun from Czechoslovakia, 85 millimeters.
85.
Czechoslovakia was nearly the only state in the Warsaw Pact system which produced own weapon systems. The other ones, they had to buy Russian systems, but the Czech industry, they produced still own weapon systems.
Post-war. And one of the things I think is interesting about this very setup that they did here is you had the Pak 36 that is a light, a lot of used by the infantry, anti-tank weapon. It had an explosive charge as well. The World War II started with a lot of Pak 36 being lobbed around. And then you look at the big 85 millimeter here that came out of Czechoslovakia, but these two sitting next to each other is a really interesting imagery of where the war started in anti-tank weaponry and where it was going. Because at the beginning of the war you could get away with Pak 36. At the end of the war, Pak 36 really did not do a whole lot to the Russian tanks especially. However, the Pak 36 was more efficient against the T-36 and even the Stalin tanks that we have been told. We were always told, yes, you're not going to shoot through a T-34 with a Pak 36, but you can destroy the running wheels, you could destroy the tracks, and the gunners, if they were good, could disable the turret. It was not a complete waste of time trying to knock out a T-34 with a Pak 36, but it was possibly a bit of a hairy experience, where on the other side, you bring this to the battlefield, you start shooting at Russian tanks, you will have a far better, less traumatic experience. This looks like it's running. Half track looks like it's running.
Yes, it's running, but that's also built post-war in Czechoslovakia. That means the shape is a little bit different, but not this much. But there's not a Maybach gas engine inside, but a Praga diesel engine, which make this vehicle even better. One has a flat door in the back, like this, and I think that's the, I'm not sure, I think that's the second version at the end of the war, and before the early version has the door and the back until there was something like a knick, and the doors had also this shape.
That's what I seem to remember. But this is the Czech, but this looks like the late war German version.
I think that's the late version, and it has nothing to do with made in Czechoslovakia or made in Germany. That's just a changing of the design.
And here you have the engine section.
That's the engine section. You can learn a lot of engines and of trucks and of other parts of the trucks.
No, unless it's a Harley-Davidson engine, I understand nothing. I learn nothing. It's a big block of things where energy comes out of. Generator. Construction project or?
No, a learning project.
Learning project.
This one is an East German truck called W50. And this truck was built in Ludwigsfelde. That's a place near south of Berlin. It's not far away. And this plant in Ludwigsfelde, they had beginners, Lehrlinge. They made education for technicians. And this truck was built in a education workshop, and the new students, they learned how it works, because a lot of pieces are made open, and the teacher can instruct his students how it works by showing the inside. You see compressor, you see the oil filter, you see the injection pump. That makes the learning easier and brings more understanding by the students.
That is a very good idea.
The cooler, how works the cooler?
You have a lot of World War II trucks.
These Bose trucks are interesting. This is the older version with a cabin made from metal. Every type of truck has its individual metal cabin. And I think from middle of 1944, on the way to the end of the war, they need to reduce the working hours, and they need to reduce the
use of
need of material. That means they changed the individual cabins to Einheitskabinen. That means this one is made from wood in any wood shop, and it would be set in any type of truck. You had only one Einheitsfahrerhaus for every type of truck. So they did not produce the individual cabin from metal.
That you also do not see. How did this thing survive in wood from the war? That is just... We have such a hard time preserving metal vehicles, tanks, weaponry from the war in metal. This thing survived and it's made in wood. I can't even fathom, what was this, kept inside somebody's living room? Because that this survived is just amazing. That really is, and it's very Spartan. So there's no, I guess you didn't want the heater to be too hard, too hot.
What heater?
I think that is really interesting, and it's amazing that it's alive. Now, as we walk through all these amazing vehicles, and we talk about the German trucks, the half-tracks, the Hetzer over here that you can't see, we always talk about mechanization, and engines, vehicles. I want to show you the vehicle that got the German army into France, Poland, Russia, the vehicle there was the most of during most of World War II, which would be this guy. You didn't think that's what I was going to say, did you? The German army was pulled by horses. There was a veterinarian in every unit. This is how the German army got around to a very large degree. The simple horse cart, which is just so forgotten and underrated. Every time we see photos and images of World War II, we see the Wochenschau and these things, the footage, the build. We always see armor and trucks, jeeps. We don't see enough horse carriages. And I guess I would say that's horse shit. So here's my tribute to horsies. Oh, the flower. That's a T-38.
Yes.
This is a repair project that will take a bit of time. The Panzerkampfwagen 38T, originally it was known as the CKD LTVC 38. It was a Czech design from the 30s that ended up being annexed by the Germans, and about 1,400 of them were made, saw extensive service during World War II, and later on the chassis were turned into tank destroyers such as the Jagdpanzer 38 or the Hetzer. Now I'm sure the rest of it is out for paint, right? Because there's something missing. It's in the shop, or
the engine is out. There was an engine, and I think that is out for repaired. But the other parts, I don't know if they existing. I believe they don't exist.
Is this for the recoil system?
Yes, I think
that's
so.
Missing. Yeah. You really don't see a lot of these.
And
it's 251.
Of the 251 depends on finding the necessary parts. And a lot of parts you see around here belong to this, but
what is that, a turret?
That's not enough. I don't know. I don't know.
But yeah, I see a lot of armored parts that could belong somewhere. I'm more curious. It looks. I mean, no, it's not. What the hell is this? This is, that's not a...
I don't know.
I actually don't know either. So any of you guys know what this is? Or what it used to be before it became dented? Shoot me a line, will you? Alright, so this is my plea to all of you guys, all you armored collectors and those who runs around battlefields with metal detectors. This 38T, we would very much like to restore the upper part. There's the engine. We have the turret is in fairly good shape. The bottom is in fairly good shape, but as you can clearly tell, everything else is missing. So if you have parts that would fit this, or at least the measurements to have them made, do let us know, because I think this museum is worthy of that, and 38Ts you don't see everywhere. So shoot me a call. I'll put you in touch. We'll see if we can get this looking like it used to. And in return for doing that, I will give you a very large piece of cheese. Maybe there's something here in this museum that you need in exchange for parts for the 38T or something else. Maybe you have the rest of this 10.5. Maybe this is worth trading. You don't see many of these. Maybe you want to restore this. Maybe this should be in your museum while the pieces for the 38T that you happen to have should come here. Maybe the other way around, I don't know. Wheels are here, reach, pieces.
Within Europe, we can bring some parts by car or by a truck across a border. These parts you can see over here are found in the training grounds, in the barracks over the years, and we did not throw them away. We make them clean without destroying them, and you can see what we found. It's interesting to find out what it was and to bring it near the original condition.
Let's see. Well, tracks, obviously. Wheels, shell casings, barbed wire. Is that a, what's on the sled over there? Is that a buoy or is that a dummy
On
grenade?
a sled?
Yeah.
I think that's a dummy.
Supposed to hold that.
For bomb training.
Yeah. And this is the fun part. Oh yes, I recognize this.
But you know the best Puma you can find?
Things missing in here. Like, you know, everything. Old B&P. Drove those several times. There's something about to be said for things that are slightly destroyed and half opened. It gives you an insight into how they were made. My armored recollection, I actually, in the army I did teach Russian vehicles, some of them, like the B&P, and this, you know what, I don't recognize this. I'm sensing this, I'm amphibious, wheeled. I know it's amphibious because I remember the bow plate. It is Russian, isn't it?
It is Russian.
And this had wheels.
It has 8 wheels.
2. You know what? I don't recognize this.
That is an SPV 40P, I think 40P2. That's the SPV or you say maybe BMT. They have in the scale of numbers 40, and they have 3 different versions of the number 40. That is the second version of the number 40. Inside you will see the first version of the number 40 and the third version of the number 40.
Oh, you have one?
Yes.
What were they? Are we looking at scout vehicles?
These are scout vehicles.
Yeah.
And
amphibious or just water?
no,
They will swim.
Amphibious. He could swim.
I thought. I mean, it's.
And you see, the room is not for infantrymen to carry them to the battlefield. That is just for scout purposes. And as I said, it is an 8 8-wheeled vehicle. You have to know between the first wheel and the fourth wheel there are two different wheels. They are hidden when lift up, and they could be turned down. The situation needs some support in the middle of the car. The support wheels are not driven. They are only to
for extra
to hold the body when they have to roll over a hill.
Yeah. What year is this? I mean, this is post-war.
It is post-war.
50,
I would
60?
say early 60s.
Early 60s. Because I thought the whole concept of retractable wheeling kind of ended some years after World War I. I thought they experimented with it for some of the smaller vehicles. I did not know the Russians had one that late where they did that. I think that's really interesting.
Version 3 you have inside, you had also the vehicles to the support wheels, and after this number 40 there came the number 60, and the number 60 was complete 8 wheels with all 8 wheels driven. That's the first version, because this is not amphibious. This could not swim, and this one has not the two support wheels. This is about built in the year, I would say 50, around 50.
This looks like a personnel carrying type vehicle with a big back.
Not for scout purposes with the second version, but for transport infantrymen.
That's what it looks like, yeah.
But it is a light vehicle, and the room for infantry personnel is not this much, because beside the SPV 40 they had the SPV 152. That was the truck with 3 axles. The third axle was there, and the room to transport infantrymen was much larger.
It's very unusual to see two vehicles that are in the same family that are this different. They don't even have the same function in common. With this one and the one outside, I would never have guessed they came out of the same branch of the tree. The front does have some relation. You can see a little bit of the family tree, and the wind, and this front section. There's a family tree you could sort of follow. You can see sort of where the same hull was used to some degree, I guess, until I don't know about here.
What is confusing is the same number, the 40, and this is also 40. In my opinion, the second generation is not a development from the first generation, but the second one is a complete new design.
Guess it's just easier to keep it on the. Oh. Maybe they kept it on the books because you have funding for different things in the military, even the Russian military.
Okay.
And sometimes you can't get funding for a new thing,
yes,
but you can get funding for the redevelopment of something that exists.
Yes, that's I found out with some planes of the US Air Force. They had a new plane with an old name just to use the old money.
This is why we try to keep bureaucracy and bureaucrats and politicians kind of out of military spending and needs, because we know what we need, not necessarily what you want to pay for. This is the third version.
The third.
Aha.
And that means the room for the driver was shifted forward.
This looks even more different than the other two.
Yeah, when I say it is a development, it's maybe also wrong.
But I mean, but the name on paper, this is the next evolution of those other two.
Yes.
And they are. I mean, this is the point where you're at the hospital and your wife is giving birth, and the child does not look like you, and you ask questions.
Yes.
Because this is so...
Okay, let's make a correction. Correctly, is it not the third version, but the fourth version? Between this and the second version, there is another version.
Oh.
To shift the driver's seat forward, that gives much room in the middle. And there you can open a door, and inside are 2 or 3 missiles.
So, okay, so this was a missile carrier.
You can open it the door, and you can lift the missiles. I'm yet not sure if they are anti-tank missiles or anti-aircraft missiles.
So basically the same concept as the 113 armored personnel carrier with a tow missile system, where you had the armored top and you raise up the tow.
113, okay.
Yeah, the old
113.
Yeah.
113. Oh, okay. Yeah.
You say tomatoes, I suppose. Tomaten.
113 is also a platform. There are 2 men inside. One is driving, and the second one, the co-driver, is shooting.
But you also have a loader and a gunner in the back.
No.
Now this I know. T-34. Wait. Yeah. Yes. Well, there's a part missing, which is sitting right there. Okay. Okay, there's a few parts missing. There's a little bit missing.
But
was
this part you can see that's an T-34 85.
85, yeah. And something slightly fell off, it was a little misplaced. Was this a target vehicle, or what happened to this thing?
We collected them from training areas not to turn off the turret before the roof of this garage is closed. I don't like it to have no roof and to have no turret, and the inside of the tank will filled with water.
I agree.
That's nonsense. And we had also very large material for the tracks.
One of the really interesting things that is here is this railway cart, which is not what you might think as a regular railway cart, because first of all it's all made of metal. It has room for insulation. This has been cut out. The windows are not original. This was the cart you would put in for, say, the large railroad cannons like Dora. It was at several stages ammunition, and the powder had to be kept at a very specific temperature for a lot of obvious reasons that I don't need to explain to you in the hot Russian sun. This was one of such cars that would keep the powder at a specific temperature and follow the train, and I believe the railroad cannons like Dora had some 5,000 men.
I would say this Dora was completely nonsense.
But you have it, and I have never seen one. I remember this Russian thing. It's a Russian, right?
That's also Russian.
Good, I remember it correctly. Obviously, it's not running anywhere. Was this radio truck? Command truck?
No, as I heard, it was for engineers, but I don't know what they had inside. Own power.
They all drove here.
Yeah, they drove. The GMC, I was driving by myself. We put in a new battery, and that started at the second turn of the key.
And then he put it here, and it's been sitting.
That is a US truck, the 2.5 ton, the well known, and this one is a Canadian.
Yeah.
Canadians, they copied nearly the British.
Oh, is it? No, I want something much more complicated.
The time belong. He had in earlier times he rented this trucks to film activities.
Any of you guys out here know something about this dozer? Because we have not been able to identify it though. And is the what's the writing? What language? I guess that would. This had a.
I would say the language is Russian.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's Russian.
Well, that makes that sense. It is heartbreaking to see when some of these vehicles that drove in here are, due to financial reasons, just end up being stuck here instead of taken care of. And this is where I think for a military city like Utterborg that was built for the military, that actually have a museum with actual tanks, you need to step up and make this a military tank museum that people would come to, just like the one in Munster, from what was here, and everyone else who has tanks that they can't care for anymore, like, you know, the kids are grown up and want to leave the house, send them here with a bag full of money so they can restore them and build the museum I want them to have. Are there any questions to that? And what did you think I would find in the grass, hiding? You have an 88.
Yes.
And it's sitting out here in the rain and snow and it's cold.
It is like it was found in the first we got, or not we, but one of our members was the Lafette, the ground.
Is this the original World War II Lafette 88?
That is the original, but
this is in gorgeous condition. I mean, this is...
Yes, but that is original, but a little bit fixed, because this platform over here, there's not this velvet, that's not the original platform. That is only, let's say, temporary. When we have another platform over there, maybe is a necessary part. Then we will remove this temporary and put on the round to turn the cannon.
So you have the parts to put an 88 together?
Not yet all
Almost.
of them, but we try to find the parts they are now still missing.
Can we carry this thing inside so it doesn't rust anymore? Because I always want to baby this thing.
In this room there's not enough room to store this inside.
I think we need to take some of the old military buildings back. They used to belong to the military originally. We need them back to store things in.
Yesterday we talked about Regelbauten, bunkers made from concrete. This is also a kind of Regelbau. It is a hut made from wood in a prepaid scheme, prepaid construction. They have produced the single parts and they needed a catalog. Okay, we want to do this building, this large, this room inside, and we need from this after a scheme, after the same.
Yeah.
They are
this is original World War II?
That is original World War II, and we brought it to here from the Magdeburg area. There was it a long time in use and nobody knows exactly what it was, where it came from. And some of our members, he recognized what it was and what it came from, and said or saw a value for our collection, and we did some negotiation and took it from the Magdeburg area to here.
So now it was made by prefabricated parts, which is really interesting, and Germans back in the day were really good at the prefabricated concept, makes it easy to put things up. So you found it about Magdeburg. Did it come apart in the same sections as it was put together?
Yes, when it was disassembled, the guys, they did it, they take numbers on all the parts, and we use this numbers on the parts to put it together in the same way, in the same position as it was before.
I smell wood.
And you smell oil.
Oil?
From the ground. And you see there the numbers.
This is, well, partly original, but not originally envisioned as a lamp.
Oh yeah, that's a joke.
I was wondering when any of my reenactor friends is going to turn one of their old helmets into a lamp. And I'm surprised why none of them have. Actually, that lamp looks more original.
I think a lamp in this style could be original.
You're overlooking the original gate building. You also have the officers' casino, and many of the other buildings intended for the military have now been taken over by civilian purposes. But these guys at their association, they also rescue smaller monuments that are incredibly important historically.
Let's say we are back in 1870. The war between Prussia and France was still going on, and in this area were brought French prisoners of war, which erected a military camp for the use of the Prussian army. They spent some years in imprisonment, I think until 72 or 73 maybe, and in this time a number of the French POWs died, and they had an own cemetery. And some years later, when they went back, their French relatives of the soldiers who died in Altes Lager, they wanted to erect a monument to remember them. The military camp near Utterborg was built up by French POWs, and they built a second camp, and then the second camp became the name New Camp, Neues Lager, and the first camp became the name Old Camp, Altes Lager. So we have two camps, Altes Lager and Neues Lager. Altes Lager is completely a military city, and after World War I and after the Treaty of Versailles was signed, there was a large changing from military use to civilian use, or at least to end the military use. In the 1920s, a very limited use, a very limited military use, and only after 1933 it was a rearmament with weapons. They are forbidden till there, and to make the army stronger in equipment, in weapon and in personnel. And so the area grew up very rapid and strong till the beginning of the World War II, and was still supporting the war operations till 1945, when the Russians came and took over the whole area with the whole military installation. And the Russians used it until the wall came down and another treaties were signed to bring the Russians back to Russia. And since 1992 or 3, the Russians disappeared and left the buildings, the areas to the Germans, and the Germans in the first time did not know what to do with it. The map is important. We are here. This is the school and this is the entrance to the airfield. And the lager the French POWs erected was north of the street. It was this area, and that was the first position of this monument. And near the first position there was a little French cemetery. And that's the place like it looks like an original position. And we disassembled it and transported it to here.
Oh, you were part of the team that did that?
Yes.
So there you go.